in the weeds, we're going to talk specifically about the value of a residual herbicide at planting, as well as potentially a residual herbicide with our post-emergence applications. And it really doesn't matter what crop we're talking about, whether it be corn, soybeans, or cotton. We're going to see the value of what a residual herbicide brings to the table for us in terms of controlling weeds like this one right here, that being Palmer amaranth. What I'm showing you here in this plot area here is an area that was tilled approximately 6 weeks ago. The Palmer amaranth emerged after the tillage, so we started clean at the beginning of the season here. We don't have a crop in the area that I'm looking at here at this time, but what we do see is the Palmer amaranth now is approximately 2 to 2.5 feet tall, and there's absolutely no option that we would have in terms of effectively controlling this weed. I want to now turn and we're going to move over to an area that actually has a residual herbicide in it, and we're going to look at a weak residual as well as one that's got a little bit more activity on this weed. In the last plot, we were looking at 24 to 30 inch pigweed that had emerged in the absence of a residual herbicide, again, approximately 6 weeks ago. Now I'm taking you to a plot that was sprayed with metolachlor. Here we put this out at the time, again, of establishing this test 6 weeks ago, and while we do see pigweed in this plot, we notice that most of the pigweed that we have here is approximately 10 inches tall, and definitely we have less pigweed than what we have in the non-treated. If we take a look at 4 weeks or even 3 weeks after application, which we'll see here in a moment, we're going to see that the pigweed is smaller, and it does allow for the timely use of a post-emergence herbicide where we have a residual like metolachlor in front of the crop, or maybe even a post-emergence application with our post-emergence product, something like, again, a glufosinate product, dicamba, or 2,4-D product, depending upon the technology. I'm now kneeling in a plot that was sprayed with peroxysulfone or Zidua at 2.5 ounces 6 weeks ago. Again, you saw what the non-treated plot looked like in terms of Palmer amaranth size, and while we do have a good bit of pitted morning glory in this area, you do see a very highly effective herbicide in terms of Palmer amaranth. Now, this plot is not free of Palmer amaranth. Actually, I'm pointing to Palmer amaranth plants that have just recently emerged. We're talking about a 1/2 inch to inch size. These plants can be easily controlled with most of our post-emergence herbicides that I mentioned a few moments ago. Products, again, like dicamba, the Extendamax, Ingenia, things like Enlist 1, as well as the glufosinate products, depending on what technology you have in the field. But the key point to make here is some products are going to provide longer residual than others. When we take a look at the length of residual, really that's a function of temperature, that's a function of moisture, it's a function, again, of the herbicide that we ultimately choose. But what you see in this plot is the value of choosing the correct residual herbicide and the flexibility it's going to give you with making a post-emergence application in the crops in which these products are labeled. I'm standing in the area of the field where we came in with tillage 4 weeks ago now, and the Palmer amaranth in this area is generally going to be about 10 to 12 inches in size. It emerged a few days or maybe even a week after our tillage event, and with a plant of this size, 10 to 12 inches, again, there's absolutely nothing labeled for the control of this, hence the value of using a residual herbicide. Similar to what we saw a few moments ago, I want to come now at this point and take a look at metolachlor. What we're seeing here is that we've got metolachlor 4 weeks after a pre-emergence application. We see that we did control a good bit of the Palmer amaranth in the area that I'm standing. We have probably some 6-inch, 8-inch weeds, just meaning that you're not likely with metolachlor alone to get 4 weeks of high level of residual control. And one thing I will state in these plots is we do have access to irrigation. These plots were readily activated, as well as the fact we've had weekly rainfall events or irrigation events to maximize the activity of this herbicide. The last plot that I'm going to share with you today is one that involves, again, peroxysulfone or Zidua. This would be 4 weeks after application to, again, bare soil. And what we notice in this plot is a high level of palmer amaranth control. Is it free of palmer amaranth? Absolutely not. There is no pre-emergence herbicide that's going to give you extended levels of 100% control. You're likely to have some escapes, but again, the escapes that we have here, most of these escapes are going to be 4 inches or less, and with a timely application of a post-emergence herbicide, we should be able to control these escapes. Also, what you notice is with the high level of control that we have here, yield loss from early season competition is going to be little to non-existent because of the high level of weed control that we have here. So again, tremendous value to putting the correct residual herbicide under our crop or over the top of the crop with our post-emergence applications, especially when we're not approaching or yet to approach canopy formation. I want to spend a few moments now showing you the value of a residual herbicide actually in soybean. What I have to the right are soybeans that were planted approximately 5 weeks ago. We see palmer amaranth in this field plot, as well as Johnson grass and some other grasses like large crabgrass, barnyard grass, etc. What we have here on my left is a 4-row plot that was sprayed with Trivents at the time of planting. That is a very effective residual herbicide from a pre-emergence standpoint. Again, is it going to provide season-long control? No. We've really got to have some option post-emergence to provide the control of those small seedlings that come through that crop, as well as the value of overlaying a residual herbicide. So what we did is, approximately about 5 or 6 days ago, we came over the top of these soybeans with Enlist 1 as well as glufosinate, or a Liberty-like product. We had a residual herbicide in this, and hopefully we're going to have about 14 to 21 days before we need to come back one more time before we go to canopy formation, and likely make our final application, ensure that this crop is weed free throughout the growing season. Again, we always want to thank the Arkansas Soybean Promotion Board for their support of research similar to what I've covered today. And as we close, I want to remind you that I'm always available through email that's going to show up here in a moment, as well as my mobile phone that's also available. Again, thanks for your support. Look forward to seeing you next week.